Good morning. Welcome to IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Joe Cook. That's Justin Wells. That's Ian Boyd. It's draft day. That's why I got my Super Bowl hat on. Not sure if I need to put on the Texans hat quite yet, but fun time to talk a little bit about college football and how the NFL's 32 teams view a good amount of Longhorns. May not be 12 or 11 draft picks like there was the last couple of years. May not be any first rounders, but should be a lot of good guys to talk about. Can kind of talk about the league as a whole and where Longhorns fit in and things like that. And then after that, we'll get a little bit into SEC coaches on the hot seat. I think there are two, but I think there are a considerable amount of coaches under pressure. Before we get going, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and get your questions in the chat. We'll answer them during the show. Not a whole lot going on with spring ball finished, although there's plenty of stuff on Inside Texas. The draft is kind of the focus today, but your focus should also be on Inside Texas. Go join for just $1 using that link in our description, or you can use the QR code at the top left of the screen. $1 gets you access to the best in Longhorn football, basketball, baseball, and recruiting coverage. Already have some great recruiting content up this morning, including some predictions for the Longhorns to prevail on an important prospect. So come check us out. Charlie was on the road yesterday. Justin will be on the road today. Be seeing prospects all over the state, and coaches should be on the road too. So we'll be tracking that. Come check us out at Inside Texas. Should be a lot of fun. Should be on the road and at the airport. Going to be coast to coast for Texas. And here's where we're starting. What do y'all think Ian and Justin are going to disagree on today? Ooh. I think it's going to be y'all get some pretty funny discussions going. I think it's whatever.
But we do that for fun. Like that's There's nobody I value their opinion more in life than Ian Boyd. Like nobody. So those are all in fun and for good measure. It's always positive.
There's probably going to be a draft take.
Oh, there's definitely. Ian's going to say some wild, and it's going to be like, I'm going to have to say, Ian, what are we doing here? And you're going to go, oh, but Justin, did you remember in 2014? And then that's how we kind of do it back and forth. And it's actually glorious at InsideTexas.com.
It's going to be the Jets should take Matthew Caldwell with the second or third pick or whatever it is. In fact, I should probably look up the draft. I should probably look up the draft order just to have available. But
I think the Jets pick second.
I need to pull up a mock because I have amazing informed opinions, and everybody stay tuned. Never mind.
The fun thing is I go to PFF and I use their thing. And one time I'll just do like all Longhorns to see how low a grade a team can get if I do that. And I think, this should be pretty easy to do that this year. So I may tinker around with that. But drafts in Pittsburgh tonight, home of the Steelers, home of what was the team? I saw a viral tweet going around. It's like, wow, I can't believe they rebuilt Acrisure Stadium after Bain destroyed it about 15 years ago. But that's a bad Batman Begins reference, or that's a bad The Dark Knight reference.
Knight.
Yeah. This is a good one from Chris Bennett. I like this. Who's drafted first, Ant Hill or Malik Muhammad? And why does it seem like Hill's stock has fallen, Justin?
Can I answer the Hill stock falling question?
I think it's multifaceted, but I want to hear what you think.
I'll give my take, and then Joe will get yours. Here's the thing. First off, Anthony Hill is going to go before Muhammad. Anthony Hill's stock hasn't fallen in the eyes of the NFL. It's only in the eyes of the media, because if you watch this long enough, this is basically how it works. They build you up in January and February, make you feel like a darling. Then they cut you pretty hard. Then they build you back up, give you a little bit more love, and around March, then about 2 weeks for the draft, they cut your legs off again. It's like a regeneration type system. And then about 24 to 48 hours before the draft, everything kind of plays over. Why do they do this? Because they need content, and they can only fill out 47 mock drafts within a 4-month window. And so they have to change things for it to be new content. Is Anthony Hill actually falling in the NFL draft? No, he's not. NFL teams are still – there is talk about the Denver Broncos getting him at 28 at the end of the first round. Listen, don't buy the mock draft hype. Those guys are paid to put out 4,000 mock drafts in a 4-month period, and they have to change things. Anthony Hill's junior stock has not fallen in the NFL's eyes. It's the media. It's that cycle and that thing they like to do, and Anthony Hill just happens to get caught up in it.
Go ahead.
Where is he graded? Because I would objectively say I think he's a second or third round kind of guy.
That's what I'm going to refer to Dane Brugler at The Athletic, probably the leading draft guy in the industry.
Yes, Dane. Yes.
He has him as second to third, and that's his grade. I think that we entered this season talking about him as a potential first rounder, and of course he is. I think entering the 2025 season, he was a potential first rounder. I think a couple things happened. Potential.
He plays inside linebacker.
I know. And what I'm about to say, I think, gets to the point. We didn't know exactly about, I don't think we knew Arvell Reese was going to be as good as he was.
You mean his test as good as he tested?
Correct. To where he's in that like number one prospect, but since he's kind of not in a super premium position,
right,
he's not going to be one overall.
Right.
Sonny Styles had a great year.
Yes.
And then Jacob Rodriguez had a great year. And Jacob Rodriguez came out of nowhere. I think Hill had the type of year we expected. Unfortunately, the injuries happened and kept him out toward the end. But I think he did just about everything we expected of him. I think there were just guys who slotted in above him that have him kind of bumping down in the draft. I think he's second round good. Definitely day two. It's second and third round. But I also think the fact that, it's not a premium position. And Blake Bryant speaks to this.
Yeah, this is actually what the NFL has been talking to him about, because he was not used properly under PK's system. If you put Anthony Hill with Will Muschamp, brother, we're not having this talk. But with PK in that system, it was not the most linebacker friendly.
And he was, as good college players have to do, because he was so athletic, he had to play middle linebacker for this Texas team. And he's going to have to play middle linebacker in the NFL, but I think he saw some opportunities to do things that he was normally really good at, like be a little bit of an edge rusher. Those opportunities were a bit more diminished this year because of some defensive problems just on the whole.
Yes.
And just because it's like, you know what, you got to play middle linebacker and somebody's got to drop to the pole and tamp it too every now and then. So I think he's going to be. If he drops to the third round, I'll be a little surprised. But I think
he's not dropping to the third round. The Houston Texans or the Tennessee Titans are not going to let him out of the second round. Those two teams will not let this kid out of the second round. What happens, and what we've seen this too, is it's going to honestly, it might be when linebackers start to make a run. That could be it. When you start seeing a couple come off the board, that's usually a sign when teams start to scramble a little bit that do want an inside linebacker early in the draft, where they will trade up or they will make maybe a decision sooner. And so that has a lot to do with it too when those linebackers start to come off the board.
He's a little bit too much hypothetical and not real. Like his
production is pretty real.
Because he's an amazing athlete and he smacks the crap out of people. And so he hits very hard. He makes a lot of plays just through sheer athleticism and force.
And that doesn't apply to the NFL.
He's not an edge. He doesn't have the length or the bend to be a real edge.
Right. He did that as a freshman, as a getting him on the field type thing.
He's only played 3 years, and he's not developed like super high level read and react linebacker skills or coverage skills. And then if he has a gripe against PK, I would say that it was that he never learned how to time and take ideal paths on his blitzes. Like it was really fascinating to see how effectively they were blitzing in the spring practice, just their ability to time it and take productive paths. And I don't know if Hill got super high level development there. They didn't blitz him that much last year.
No,
they had Colin Simmons and.
I'd say when you have the edge guys you have, you let Anthony man the middle of the field, him and LaFau.
Especially when he's like so destructive, cleaning up from coverage. Hill was.
The other thing was he had to do that because are you going to put Trey Moore did it well, but not as well as Anthony Hill. Leongo LaFau last year, did it well, but he had to play the other linebacker spot. Anthony Smith had to play the other linebacker spot. Brad Spence, not as good. He had to play that. Somebody has to play that position, and that's probably what.
Yeah, in terms of dropping.
Yeah,
that's
what he had to do. Let me get this onto the screen. We're going to go through all the guys who went through Pro Day. Is the line of demarcation that I gave to it. I think kind of our normal number order or position order. And we will start at quarterback, Matthew Caldwell. I don't think Matthew Caldwell is under the impression that he's going to be drafted. There is something.
You know what? There's a place for him in the league, Joe. He's an RPO machine. There is a place in the NFL for a Matthew Caldwell. So
the one thing about Caldwell and the quarterback position in the NFL that works to his advantage is, who's a good example? I don't have one.
Matt Schaub.
No. I'm saying you have your starting quarterback, you have your backup quarterback, and teams can suit up a third quarterback who can only go in emergency situations.
Yeah.
So you can have 53 plus a quarterback on game day. And then if they really wanted to, you could also have a practice squad quarterback. So there is just more room in the NFL at the quarterback position over the past couple of years because of that emergency rule. And, hey.
There's also been a need for the capability of quality quarterbacks.
Right. And so he's not going to be drafted. But if he can prove I got Dane's pulled up 6'2.5", 213, 4.6 40, which is pretty good, not the best in amongst quarterbacks, and 9.5 hand size, that works. He can contend for a spot on a roster. I think that's the best case scenario for him.
Yeah.
And if not,
you
know what? That's a good USFL quarterback, in my opinion.
Actually, I think he'd be more in the private equity sector.
Right.
I think he's a businessman. And also think he could jump into the agent sector as well with my boy Cole Lord.
That'd be a pretty good place for him.
He's a smart, savvy, team first kind of guy. Matthew Caldwell is the guy you hire when he comes to interview for a job.
Yeah, and I think the fact that he's from Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah. You know how close he was to go to Auburn? It was a freaking phone call that Freeze messed up. That's how close.
And he probably could have played a lot this past year.
He would have started.
Yeah, he would have started a lot, that's for sure. But, I think everybody's hoping for an undrafted free agent opportunity and that he hears the call. DJ Campbell, this is a case where just because you're a 4-year starter or 4-ish year starter, and there's another example on the defense, you're going up against a lot of other 3- and 4-year starters. It's a good feather in the cap, but it's one that almost everybody has. He's right at 6'3". That's what he measured at. And he's also probably typecast to teams that run gap schemes to where
Campbell?
Yeah.
No, he can run. I think he'll have a big leg up from running outside zone at Texas for years.
Because he can move. Because he can move.
He got good at it.
He maybe not can move you, but he can move.
Right. And he plays really hard. I think
so too.
And there is value to that for teams, not to take plays off.
Ian, do you think this guy's plateaued by his sophomore year? Like, I feel like that's kind of where he hit his ceiling.
No, I think up until what we were saying this the other week after the Florida game, something switch got flipped.
Yeah, you're right.
He started pushing people around after that.
But it wasn't freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I do agree. It was kind of like freshman, sophomore,
and then a wall,
and then a little bit of a bump his senior year.
Probably a bigger jump.
Remember, going into his junior year, he had the mindset he was going to leave early. He'd come off a really good sophomore year, which is probably his best at Texas. He thought, hey, if I do this the right way, I think he had just saw Christian Jones take an extra year and get drafted. He's like, I'm going to do that. And it just didn't happen in that junior year.
I think he's in a situation, as we'll find with a good amount of guys on here, to where, and this applies to every draft, getting undrafted free agent sometimes is better than getting a 7th round pick, because you can pick the right place for you
and get more money.
You have a chance to, teams are willing to take the chance on you because you don't cost as much, so you can keep kind of getting opportunities.
Remember, who was it? Was it Deshaun Jameson, who signed like a $200,000 deal, undrafted free agent? It was either with the 49ers or with the Carolina Panthers. It was crazy. Panthers. He wasn't close to getting drafted, and he got like 4th round money.
And then there were a lot of reasons off the field for this, but like, you can still get paid. Isaiah Bond did last year. Like, he got 3rd round money after his legal situation cleared up.
I had no idea Isaiah Bond made the impact the last part. First of all, I didn't know Isaiah Bond was in the NFL. Second of all, I didn't know he was being an impactful guy for the Cleveland Browns. The last month of the season, he was one of their better receivers. I had no clue.
Yeah. Jack Indries. This may be the first offensive player off the board. Got some intel on him. Danville is closer to Oakland, but the Raiders are in Vegas now. But the 49ers have a bunch of 4th round picks. They have a Longhorn as their head coach.
Love tight ends.
They have a need for tight ends. And George Kittle may be the perfect tight end. But if you want to run a lot of 2 and 3 tight end set, you need some guys with receiver capability. And Jack Indries definitely has that. Again, he's not near the top of the draft. That's going to be Kenyon Sadiq, and I'm trying to think of who else. If thinking about the tight end position,
you know who it says he should have the opportunity and play and learn with. It's not George Kittle. It's Kyle Juszczyk. Indries is like 6'1.5".
No,
Indries is never going to be an inline tight end in the NFL.
Correct.
But he could be a fullback.
Agree.
He could be a fullback, and Juszczyk is the guy to learn from.
Indries.
If it's San Francisco, yes.
Yeah.
Aren't they the only team that still uses a fullback, basically?
Not for long.
I know. It's coming back.
The only thing is, Indries is 6'4" and 5/8".
No, he's not.
Well, okay, we got Dane's number. 6'4" and 5.
I was about to say, where did the 6'1" come from? I've seen Jack Indries. He's not 6'1".
He's not 6'5".
I think he was.
He's not. He's 6'4" and 5/8".
Yeah, like he was a little bit bigger than I think you think. He's a little bit bigger.
Why wouldn't Kansas City take a flyer on him? Because
they took a flyer on Jared Wiley 2 years ago.
And because as far as blocking goes, I know Kelsey's getting up there and it's becoming tough for him. Kelsey's still a credible blocker. And Indries as an NFL blocker, you don't leave him one-on-one with very many guys.
And at this stage, I don't even know if I would say at this point moving forward if Kelsey's a capable blocker.
No, I agree completely.
I'm shocked he got the contract he did, but it looks like they can cut him loose after one more year, and I think he's got one more year. And they're looking to replace that. Like I said, they went with Jared Wiley recently. They want to get. They know how much Mahomes appreciates those tight ends.
Yeah. I think early. I think late day 3 is best case, like sneak into the 3rd round, but he's going to be early day 4, just kind of like where Jatavian Sanders was taken. Right, Jatavian was the first selection on day 4, I believe, and then first selection of the 4th round on day 3, and then Gunnar Helm, kind of similar. That's just where teams, unless you are completely different, that's just where teams draft you. Before we do keep on going, got to show some love to our sponsor, and that is Academy.
Oh, it's an auto worm bite, turns out.
Giant. Oh, it's a giant.
It's a giant, so.
Oh, it's a giant! Oh, it's a giant! It's a giant!
Gets me every single time.
We got to get a new ad.
Ethan Burke. I think he's lucky if he gets a call in round 7. I think the combine invite, Ian, and the lack of one spoke a good amount of volume, unfortunately.
I can't disagree. I think there's a spot, like I said, with Caldwell. I think there's a spot in the NFL, especially for edge guys. Anybody that has any expertise in getting to the quarterback, being disruptive, the NFL will look at you. They will give you a shot. I don't know if Burt gets drafted, but I do think he plays in the NFL. I think it's going to be one of those kind of situations where he's got to get his body a little bit more NFL physique, but he's got the tenacity, he's got the motor, and he's got the athleticism. We're talking about a former college level lacrosse player that decided to hunt quarterbacks for a living. And so if Burt doesn't, this is one like you had talked about, it might be a better situation for Burt to not get picked in that 7th and for him to be able to maybe pick a spot that would be better suited for him. I just know in this era in the NFL, if you can rush the quarterback in any form or fashion, buddy, they'll take a good hard look at you.
I would want to know what his commitment level to football is like for the future. Like this, because he has a lot of upside if somebody just gets him into a NFL level strength program.
I agree. And if he's not playing Pete Kwiatkowski Jack and is instead playing like defensive end.
I don't know that's I don't know why are we hating on PK's scheme with all these guys?
I'm not
hating on the no. But the only hate with PK's scheme was the inside linebackers. Everyone else was eating.
I'm not hating on the scheme. I'm just saying that the responsibilities of that scheme made his body go a certain way, and I think his body going a different way in the NFL may be better for him.
Which way is it going to go in the NFL?
I mean, maybe he needs to go to the weak side like he was.
No, look at that. That 40 is not going to go up that much.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing. He doesn't have great testing. He does not have good testing numbers. He has
right.
He has good testing numbers.
What if he was jacked?
Then he would get drafted.
Yeah, but I think that's the direction he needs to go, is to be like 6'6", 285.
I don't think that's where his body's going. I think he gets by with what he has.
I think if it was going to go that direction, they would have done it.
If you gave him Texas.
Yes.
No. Texas doesn't do that with anybody. Texas doesn't build jacked dudes.
So you didn't see Lance Jackson pre-camp. You didn't see Justice Terry pre-enrollee. You didn't see Richard Wesley in the last 5 months. Come on, Ian. It's not that simple.
They changed it this winter, for one. For another, a lot of those guys came in big.
Okay.
They don't make jacked dudes at Texas right now. That's like the program weakness.
You don't think they make them all jacked, but I do see progress in some of these younger guys. Josiah Sharma, prime example.
Sharma came in looking like a fire hydrant.
Right. And they slimmed him down and got him ready and streamlined for an impactful, playing time. It's not all about being jacked. Sometimes it's about slimming and leaning them down, getting them trim.
Burke had to build a huge beer gut.
But Bird has a dad bod since he was 14 years old. That's not changing.
It could change.
No,
I
human physics tells him no, it's not possible.
No, if I
Without genetics, without anabolic stuff.
Well,
oh God.
Last point on Bert.
it's the NFL, Justin. What do you think these guys?
You're right. Hey, listen, you're right. If LeBron James can be for 28 years and look like he's 25, Ethan Burt can make that decision too.
Yeah. Not Ozempic, Sandman. I know you're just joking, but that's not.
Cole Brevard, undrafted free agent, 2-down nose tackle. That's about all that's his role in the NFL as a 2-down player.
Remember Cedric Woodard?
No.
You remember him? Late 90s. He was actually he was drafted by the Green Bay Packers in like the 5th or 6th round. I want to say 99. If he doesn't get drafted, Texas doesn't have that streak of like, what was it, 20-something years of having a guy drafted in the NFL. Coincidentally, Mac Brown in 2000, after that, they just started having a ton of more go to the league. Woodard was the one guy. I get that vibe from Cole Brevard. And Woodard actually made a niche in the league for about 3 or 4 years just because he had that sort of size and was able to barrel and get kind of that low center of gravity and just be disruptive. Brevard has that mentality, in my opinion, and not the best size, but he has the size to pull that off for the next few years.
The one thing about
Andrews is so tall. I thought Andrews was so much shorter.
The one thing about Brevard is he apparently is like going to be 25 come week 1. Like he's old.
The NFL does not like that.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, you are going to be this 6'2 and 3/4, 340-pound nose tackle. Like that's what he is, and that's all they'll be using him for.
On the other hand, your first contract is super cheap. So if he's just a one contract plug-in cog, the fact that he's 25 is kind of awesome, because now you're getting the like prime years of like
super
25,
cheap. Yeah,
25 to 28 before he goes over a cliff, maybe. You're getting that at a rookie scale. That's kind of nice.
Travis Shaw. I think you're going pro in something other than sports. But I mean, just the fact I think the fact that he just his what's it called? He just saw way fewer and fewer snaps at the end of the year, and it's just like if you're not playing at Texas for whatever reason, you may not get the NFL. How was Jackson Jeffcoat not drafted? Short.
He was picked up as a rookie free agent, 25 minutes after that draft, and he wound up playing for a minute in the league and then goes up to the CFL and becomes like a All-American up there. I think he even won a great.
Is like an outside linebacker only, and the NFL kind of at the time when he was going into the league moved a different direction.
That's fair.
So
pull up the steroid question again.
All right.
Yeah, let's tread lightly.
It's the easiest thing in the world for any given athlete to go find a doctor that will hook them up with all sorts of stuff. That would be super helpful. So like you could do TRT, although these guys maybe don't need to do that. EPO is amazing. How do you think some of these NBA players are playing so long? I think some of these athletes all of a sudden have all this longevity. But some programs, it definitely seems that there are particular programs where it's part of the strength regimen. And then other programs where it's like you're on your own. Not that it's that hard if you're on your own, but it's not the same as if it's regimented and it's,
testing also varies from conference to conference, even program to program. It's when you get to postseason that the NCAA has its guidelines.
There was a particular program that was
Big 12 North and Big 12 South.
No, I had a different program in mind that got popped before the playoffs once or twice. And it was a program known for redshirting guys and developing them for a year before they threw them in the fire. They wear orange. their defensive coach is now at a Texas rival.
Gotcha.
Anytime you have a program with like a super high paid strength coach, and he's very well respected, and they just turn dudes into monsters.
You're talking about Kaz at Baylor, right?
Let's be careful.
That's another one that you hear things about that one, that there were certain things they did that were very effective. So yeah, some programs, it does seem that some programs have a actual systematized approach. And then there are other programs where it's like guys could do it, but it's not part of the deal. There was a time when like everybody would do it and everybody would do it systematized. And then they had like new rules and stuff, and people would be like, oh, shoot, we can't do that anymore. And some pioneered new methods and some did not.
Trey Moore, this should be an interesting test case for what the NFL values. He could be off-ball linebacker depth, like deep depth. But
special teams depth.
That's someone you probably want. Like you can use them in a third down package and use them in a way where the defense or the offense legitimately won't know what he's doing on a third down play. And I think the fact that he went from 0-star to really good G5 player to co-starter in a multifaceted role at Texas is going to show that he can do a little bit of everything, and there's a place for that type of guy in the NFL.
I think he was really boosted by getting a chance to start to make that transition last year at Texas and not come into the NFL without any experience at off-ball linebacker inside. Mm-hmm. I still think he could be really, really – him and Burke are guys that I think they're not going to go super high, but I think either of them in the right system with enough time could be amazing multi-year veterans. Moore has to fully make that switch to inside and learn how to play it. And Burke needs, the NFL strength and nutrition regimen. James Harrison was like an undrafted free agent for the Steelers. He was on the practice squad trying to learn their zone blitz system. And there's like a story, he like pulled himself out of practice once and was like, I don't understand what we're doing. Y'all do this. They cut him. He goes somewhere else. He comes back. And then in like his mid to late 20s, it all clicked. And he became like a Pro Bowler. And Moore, not that exact path, but I think Moore could have something where like once he figures out inside linebacker, he could be awesome.
So what you're saying is
let's not forget about Harrison. Harrison's wired a little differently than your regular human, your regular athlete, your rather regular competitor. Let's just kind of put that in there as well.
Yeah, I mean Harrison they're not a one-to-one.
He's wired differently, Boyd. Yeah. You know that.
Not a one-to-one. It's not a one-to-one. I just mean in terms of like needing time to adjust to the game.
I don't know. I got
Some guys have that potential where it's like I figured out how to do something.
When it clicks later, it still clicks.
I think it could click for more. He'd be another one.
I'm giving that too.
Him and Burke, I would want to interview and talk to them and get an idea of what,
So they just need to go to Ball So Hard University, is what you're saying? Glad somebody got that reference. Malik Muhammad. This is a weird draft for corner, I feel like. Like that Mansour Delane may be the first one off the board.
And he's not even that like athletically gifted. It's crazy.
Avian Terrell is another like fringe first rounder.
He's sticky. I remember him in the bowl. I mean, in the playoff, he's sticky.
I think Muhammad is going to be. He'll be drafted pretty early, and my hope is
I'm going second round.
My hope, and this is what I wrote, and I think what we want to know is like, hopefully he doesn't have to go to sleep on the night of day 2 without being drafted. I think that's
I don't think he gets past round 2. And I do think, again, it's going to be when corners start to come off the board. Malik is one of those, he may not have tested, fanatically like some of these, hyper level athletes do at corner and at safety or at DB. But you remember Josh Norman? Josh Norman didn't either, but that guy did not miss. He could flip hips. He could turn and burn. Like, he could track and smack. Like, Malik has such strong corner mentality and tendencies. Yeah, he can't run 4.3, but for some reason he can cover the guy that can.
He's got long arms. He doesn't mind playing corner or nickel.
Short memory.
He's a little slight. And to his
They're
credit,
all corners are slight.
To his credit, he only missed one game, I think, in his career at the Florida game.
I think it was pretty important coming off of what he did the next game with 2 INTs in the first half.
Right, but it's
His
not the
numbers are
strong.
awesome.
Say again.
His numbers are awesome. So he had
For when they threw at him, yeah.
4.42 40, 4.19 shuttle, 39-inch vertical.
That 4.1 shuttle is nice.
That's awesome.
I think he's
going to play for 10 years, guys. It just depends on the team.
He's got the mentality too. Like, this is
That's a
someone
kid that thrives at San Francisco. That's a kid that thrives in San Francisco.
Jalen Gilbo, undrafted free agent, most likely needs to go to his own team.
Yeah. His own choose his spot.
Yeah. And then last but not least, Michael Taft.
Mookie.
Michael Taft tested well. He didn't test great, but he tested
another
really
good
well.
shuttle. 4.15 shuttle.
He tested
awesome.
again. He tested really well. He's never going to be 200 pounds.
Well, he might get there. He might get to 200 pounds. He's not.
He's another guy that was definitely not juicing in college. They were definitely not slipping anything in his Gatorade. And if somebody did, you might see a different Taft.
Where are we thinking? Probably around 4 or 5 for him.
I've got a sense it's 4th through 6th. And I think there's like 3 or 4 teams that really, really like. And I know just from catching up with sources, the Los Angeles Rams have been very vigilant in learning about him. Sean McVay had remembered him from coming to Austin a year or 2 ago. The Minnesota Vikings, they got a lot of contact there. I think he's a guy that's I don't expect him to go in the 4th, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I don't see him going past the 6th. I would kind of expect that 5th, 6th range. He's going to have to work really hard to stay on an NFL roster. But that's the same thing he was told as a 3rd stringer on the varsity at Westlake, as a walk-on at Texas. Like, he's used to hearing this, and it just calculates into his execution.
This is a good point from Chris Bennett. Les Snead's, it's either son or nephew, Lance St. Louis, the deep snapper, I believe. Either Lance St. Louis or the backup deep snapper, and even I can't remember that name. He was on Texas roster these past few years, and so I think the Rams have a good insight. Remember when what was it? Jerry's grandson helped make the call.
Paxton Anderson
helped make the call for DeMarvion Overshown.
Yeah.
Wonder
and also too, from what I understand, Jordan Whittington has a lot of say, a lot of respect in that locker room. McVay and those guys love him, and so if Jordan Whittington's talking good about you in a room you're not in, brother, you're living a good life.
I think, not to do the whole coach on the field trope, but the Rams and especially the Vikings, those are some complex systems, and Taft for 3 years directed traffic for a Texas secondary that played a good amount of different types of coverage. Like, if you want somebody to fit your system, you got to know that they'll be able to fit it up here as well. And that could be something that he is good at. You would probably have to pair him with a pretty darn athletic other safety. But at the same time, like, if you really want to find somebody who you don't have to worry about assignment soundness, especially in a complex system, that may be the place for Taft. So there's
always a spot for the gym rat, Joe.
Yeah.
I wonder if he could play slot also.
I don't know. Not in the NFL.
Yeah, you're asking him to hit 230, 240-pound running backs if they're coming, setting an edge. No.
Wait, what? No, slot receiver.
Oh, you mean on offense?
Yeah.
No, would have done it already.
No.
Hey, why wouldn't he play in offense for Todd Dodge?
He's not an offensive guy.
I don't know. Why not?
Michael's he's a dissector. He goes through and finds things like he's not a Welker. He's not an Amendola. That's not him. Hey, give him props for trying to be that for Caldwell at Pro Day.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate team guy. That's a move that gets you moved up on a board in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round. Let's just be honest.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our other sponsor. That's Andre the Lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
This is a good one to get to before we go over some coaches on the hot seat. Justin, are there any commits coming up? We were thinking about tracking one today. Probably won't be having to do that, but our guy Charlie Williams did just put in an RPM over on Inside Texas, and you also just posted some recruiting notes.
Yeah, so maybe. I mean, I can tell you that much. Look, we love where Texas and Brock Williams are right now. That's the 4-star tight end out of Libertyville, Illinois. I think he's the number 3 or number 4 rated tight end in the country. Texas has just been so good with this recruitment. He's been ready to announce since December, which I don't think he was ready. I think that was when he kind of started the process of figuring it out. And now I don't think he's going to be on the board much longer. I could see a decision in May before the OVs or maybe directly after it. Either way, we had some great info on Brock a few months ago. I put in an RPM. We got some more good info on Brock. Charlie Williams came through, Coach Dub with the RPM. I don't know if he's going to be the next one up, but I just love where Texas stands. Listen, he snuck into Austin last week before the Fan Fest thing for a couple of days and hung out with the coaches, hung out with the players, got to sit in meetings. He got a real vibe, and that was the 3rd or 4th time he'd been in Austin in probably 4 or 5 months. We just love where Texas is trending here, and this will be the Marlin for Jeff Banks. He has yet to get that big-time elite recruit tight end since he's been at Texas. Brock Williams should break that curse.
Should be a lot of fun to track. You want to talk great off-season topic, coaches on the hot seat?
You know, I wasn't going to say Kalen DeBoer until yesterday.
And then
it happened.
I only think there are 2 coaches on the hot seat entering this year in the SEC. Like, I think there are coaches who could be if things go poorly this season. Next year's the hot seat year, but I think there are only 2 this year, and I think one of them is Shane Beamer. Because I don't trust a Kendall Briles offense. I don't trust what's around Lenora Sellers, and I also think that the South Carolina athletic department right now, there's a lot of not great when you look past the women's basketball program.
I think the Lenora Sellers thing is yes, what's going to do it.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, go ahead, Ian, because you're
you
right.
You got this guy and you couldn't do anything with him factor.
Yep. Now they did go 9-4 that first year, but that's not to go 4-8 with Sellers is.
Granted, they replaced the best deal. They had to replace the best D line that season in the SEC, but that's not that. You can't use that as an excuse.
Athletic departments don't care about that. They care about ticket sales, and they care about athletic departments are not run by people that really know football a lot of the time.
I think their athletic director is the old
athletic
baseball.
departments that never win are obviously not run by top football people.
He's the old baseball coach.
Ray Tanner. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the baseball coach when
They won
Texas beat South Carolina in the College World Series in 2001, 2002.
And then I think he
Jeff
won a couple.
Ontiveros at first base.
And then I think he won either 1 or 2 in the early 2010s. I just think
they did win one.
It's going to be, you had Lenora Sellers and Dylan Stewart and whatever, that sprinter on the outside.
Nick Harbor.
Yeah. And Nick Harbor is not a wide receiver, though. He's just a fast dude on the football field.
He's just an athlete that's much more athletic than most other athletes.
Where do y'all think his soft landing would be? At Oklahoma or with Riley at USC?
I think he could get another
Ole
head
Miss
coach
when they
job.
get rid of Golding or whatever.
Not as a head coach. Ole Miss is not going to hire Shane Beamer.
They hired Golding.
Yeah, that was a rally the troops thing. I know.
I don't know where to go.
I think he could get. Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe he could. I'm trying to think of what Big 12. What if he got Baylor?
Actually, I would I think I'd kind of like that.
And
I think
brought
it'd be
Kendall with him.
I think he'd be an assistant for Riley or Venables.
His background is special teams coach, right?
Yeah.
Which makes sense considering his last name.
Yeah, I'd say his dad. That was his thing too.
I think Beamer's on the hot seat. Here's the other thing, and this may be a warm take or an unfair take. I think Levy is also on the hot seat. Because I know that there are problems just as far as money goes in Starkville, but like you have one SEC win in 2 years.
They need to see just incremental improvement, just little bits, and I just don't think they're getting those from Levy. Granted, it's the system's a little unique, and you got to have the right guys to run it. But Levy was only going to really win at Mississippi State if he had a quarterback that could really run kind of what they wanted to do, and he needed the receivers and skill guys that kind of go with that offense that can be successful. But they didn't have like the higher level kind of guys outside of a quick, fast Brennan Thompson. It's just it almost felt like a lose-lose situation in Starkville over the last few years. Took over a bad roster, hasn't really injected it much with a lot of talent. I'll tell you what, that Texas loss last year, that one stung the alum. They thought they finally had one. They thought they'd gotten over on them. They thought they'd get that win. And I think that lingered. I have a bet. I like Jeff Levy. I've known that guy a long time. I think it's just he's just was dealt a bad hand, and he hasn't played it well.
Justin, indulge this conspiracy theory. I think Levy needed to find a job to get out of Oklahoma, because I think things were souring after he had
100%
on the
100%.
field. I don't think he liked working for Venables.
No, nobody that runs a Browsville and shoot wants to play for a Brent Venables. Nobody.
So I think he took a good I think he took an SEC job and an SEC paycheck to get out, and it was like good enough to get out. Mm-hmm. And if they fire him, he's going to be unemployed.
He'll be a running back coach for Tulsa next year.
No, he'll be an offensive coordinator he'll
Tennessee, maybe he goes and does that.
That was what he originally did. Was a running back coach.
He'll be unemployed for 10 seconds.
Yeah,
he's going to get. He could get
Do you think he's getting an OC job where he has full autonomy on his installation and play calling?
He should
Because
try.
if he couldn't manufacture that on his own, is he going to do that for another place?
But weren't they like pretty good on offense last year?
I think they were hit and
I mean,
miss. I think they were a big play and no run game.
Yeah, Shapen getting dinged up didn't help them. They have a decent quarterback, like that Kamario Taylor kid. Looks
He's a
pretty
decent athlete playing.
Decent athlete. Yeah, but you can manage that in that system. I just don't know what they have outside of Taylor and then that really good safety Booth. Does that sound right?
Hey, they went to East Texas. They went down to Winsboro, Texas, where you don't find many D1s, and they got their slot receiver there in Camden Capehart, who was running like 10-1s, 10-2s. But those guys aren't going to make a big difference in him in year 3.
Everybody wants to run this system, and for my money, he's one of the very, very best at doing it.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
We'll see how it goes this year, but I think he might be better off.
There are some factors that's always going to be tough for Mississippi State. They got to play another SEC game.
That's tough.
That's not good for them. That's a program that probably siphons some rev share money to baseball because that's a sport that they can actually contend for national titles in.
And that school loves their baseball.
And it's an agricultural school in Mississippi. There are a lot of great people there. I had a time of my life there for the Mississippi State game, especially after that win. But it's just there's no Yellowwood, there's no Tyson chicken. Like that's just not something that they have. And that's just a systemic problem for Mississippi State. People care, but I don't know how deep the pockets are there. Those are the only 2 hot seat coaches I had facing pressure, and I published this about 10 minutes before the DeBoer news came out. This is a good thing to hit on real quick. Did Leach dying set them back?
Yes.
Yeah, because the hire they made to keep everything together wasn't good.
Tore everything apart.
Well, they were on an upward trajectory with Leach.
Yes, they were. They had just signed Sawyer Robertson. He was doing his usual sneaky evaluations, finding guys that can run exactly what he wanted to run. You're right, Ian.
Yeah, they were
also
good.
Zach Arnett, who is working at Mississippi State again, just was not very good. He like came in, got the head coaching job, and he's like, we're doing things different. And he kept like the roster together, but that roster didn't fit what he wanted to do, and it was bad news. What do y'all think of the DeBoer extension? And it's a real extension too. That's the thing. It's not one of those fake extensions. His buyout didn't drop. He's getting a raise.
Yeah, it's 90% of the remaining outstanding money is the buyout if they fire him,
which is north of 60 this year, at least.
Yeah.
We won't hear anything out of Tuscaloosa until that first loss. And then this extension, it'll just be fodder for the locals and Feinbaum.
Ooh, that reminds me. Today's a good day to listen to Feinbaum.
I think DeBoer is one of the best offensive coaches in the country.
Absolutely.
I would feel pretty good about this if I were them. I think he's been very good through the first 2 years. Their standard is Saban, which is the greatest, most successful.
And no one's going to match that.
No one's going to match that.
Nope.
But if I'm DeBoer, I get this. People are coming to me and they're like, "Hey, when is Keelan Russell going to start?"
This year.
And I'm going to be like, "Well, let's talk about an extension." And he gets the extension, and it's like, I'm playing Keelan.
Yeah.
I'll take my lumps now that I got 7 years and over $100 million in the bank. Sure, let's take some lumps with Keelan.
Yeah. No, I won't talk.
You know what? That's how you create a quarterback. And listen, we've seen what he did with Michael Penix. It was beautiful. He can do the exact same thing with Keelan Russell.
That's hard though, without, because you're going to lose when he's young.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, this extension's great, but the first loss in 2026, they're going to be mad. And it's not going to matter who they lose to.
They'll be mad, but they're not going to fire him yet.
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the pitchforks have come out from the fans. I mean, look at it last year. Even the close wins, he was getting his throat cut. Yeah. So it's like that's just the standard of coming behind the GOAT.
I don't have him on the hot seat.
This is Ian Boyd's music.
Ian, why am I right or wrong for saying he's under pressure, but maybe not on the hot seat entering this year?
So here's the problem. Who's in charge of Oklahoma?
Nagy.
Sort of. Okay.
The new athletic director.
Sort of.
That guy's a patsy for the Randall Stevenson clown.
It's Nagy.
All right. If I'm Nagy, and let's say Oklahoma like really screws up and goes like 7-5 or 6-6 or something, right? And then it's we got to make a move. Okay. If I fire my head coach, what am I really doing? And it's probably not going to be because of defense if they go 6-6 or 7-5. It'll be like Mateer was awful. All the receivers got injured. Maybe that's Venable's fault. Maybe it's not. But do I fire Brent Venables? Well, who am I going to hire as a head coach who will be willing to do whatever I tell them? And who am I going to hire as a defensive coordinator who's an upgrade over Brent Venables? Because say what you will about Venables, and I have. He's like one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, easily.
Agreed.
And if you ditch him and you have to like rebuild without his system and his process with his players, plus whatever happens in the portal, that you're in a bad spot. If you're right now, when you're Nagy, having Venables as a meat shield and a host for you as a parasite is amazing. You absolutely do not want to get rid of Venables because then you lose the shield, you lose your host organism, and then you're like, what are you going to do? Hire Shane Beamer?
No.
I mean, you could. Shane Beamer would come and he would do what he was told, and he'd give a little better oversight than Venables. But how are you going to sell that?
Here's what my thing on OU is. I just don't know if Venables has the cachet right now to deal with this. There's a new AD, and their win total is 7.5. And I know Bill Connolly posted that what's it called? That Texas has the toughest strength of schedule according to SP Plus right now. Oklahoma's in that top 10. Like they have to play Texas A&M. I think they play LSU. And then whatever else they got, they have to play Michigan in the Big House with a better coaching staff.
Yeah.
Like
I just watched their spring game too, and that's not going to be a walk in the park.
I think we can all admit that Oklahoma is going to be a better football team this year. It may not reflect itself in the wins and losses.
They may
as
not
much as they would like.
So they don't play LSU, but it's worse.
Bama.
Worse. No, they play at Georgia.
Ooh.
Before Texas. They get at Georgia by Texas.
Oh, well, that's different.
It's better.
Yeah.
So they have at Michigan and at Georgia before they play Texas.
Where is PK? USC?
Arizona Cardinals defensive line coach.
Arizona Cardinals, because we got people in here talking about Nagy hiring PK. Like Brent Venables is going to completely change his entire defensive philosophy to bring in Pete Kwiatkowski.
I think PK per PK, and I say that as a result of his habits, is good on college football now by going to the NFL. Like that guy probably could have gotten that was a name very quickly associated with the USC job before Gary got it. And then he didn't pop up. Oh, it was Stanford too, I think. And then he's coaching defensive ends and the defensive line in the NFL. Like I think Pete Kwiatkowski is done with college football per Pete Kwiatkowski. New coaches, Ryan Silverfield. I'm sorry, that was a bum, uninspired hire. That guy, this is what I wrote. The guy traded one angel investor in FedEx for a pair of them in Tyson Chicken and Walmart, but he has not been able to show at Memphis that he can outcoach teams that they're more talented than.
And he's
they're
not
gonna
going to
suck
play any
this year.
teams this
They-
year. He's more talented than.
They are on 1-11 watch, in my opinion.
Ooh.
Like they will beat North Alabama.
Who's the quarterback? Do we know who the quarterback they brought in is?
Someone they brought with them from Memphis.
Mm.
They are on 1-11 watch.
I think Arkansas has almost reserved themselves to just basketball status. With Calipari, with the way they pay NIL and hoops, baseball is always usually really solid. I think they've hit a lull in the last year or two, but that was it's a really good baseball program. I think they're like, you know what? We're doing pretty well in these other sports, are credible track and field. Let's build up the football team because we're going to struggle there.
They are a very deep athletic department.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think kind of what I was saying with Mississippi State, yes, you have the Tyson chicken money and the Walmart money. That's got to go to John Calipari, and that's got to go to a fan base that wants to
100%.
finally win a national championship in baseball.
Yep.
There are a lot of mouths to feed in Fayetteville.
It's funny. It's a football program, but it revolves around the other sports. It's a football school. It's always going to be a football school. I know Nolan Richardson had his run in the 80s and 90s of basketball, and I know baseball had their run. It's always going to be a football school.
You hate to see it.
What were your thoughts on this is getting us into a Lane Kiffin said no thanks category. Arkansas also fumbled Alex Golesh. Like Arkansas almost had him, and then I think it started getting out from the Arkansas side. Like we have him. And Golesh was like, "Oh, hold on a minute. I didn't agree to anything." And then Auburn pulled him.
I don't know about fumbled. Auburn pulled Golesh from their hands like Jermaine Bishop did with the ball against Jonathan Cunningham in the end zone last Saturday.
I think it was after, though. I think it was
Auburn does a better job.
Yes.
Auburn's a better job, but Auburn is also a bigger headache.
Yes, that's how it goes, though, right? I mean, Texas is as big a headache as anywhere.
Yeah. Auburn importing the quarterback, importing the offense. He's got the veer and shoot of his own variety. They're always going to recruit well by proximity to talent. Atlanta just being in a centralized place in Alabama. They've got, I think, Yellowwood in that their big investor for Auburn. Maybe Tim Cook. Tim Cook went to Auburn, right? Isn't that the Apple CEO that just stepped down? Maybe he's got some spare time and some spare dollars. I just think it's going to be, if you're Alex Golesh, like I think the only thing you want to do this year is throw everything you can at the Iron Bowl. Because I don't know what it looks like. They played Baylor in Atlanta to start the year. Maybe you get that for a little goodwill against the lame duck Aranda.
Well, that's a random game.
Well, it was in Waco last year, and then
that they did a home and home. Okay,
and then they moved the this game. I think Auburn's renovating their stadium.
Yeah,
so they moved this game to Atlanta. I don't know. I think it's let's try.
I'm pretty meh on this. Did he bring his quarterback with him?
Yeah. The one with
Then I think that he'll have a little bit of success in his first year. Remember, they had a really good defense last year. I don't know how much of that carries over, but a lot of times
they kept Durkin.
See, right, like so that's going to keep them, at least competitive in my opinion, because Auburn's defense last year was really, really good.
I've studied Golesh's offense now, and it is very simple. I like it. It's a brand of veer and shoot. They do a few things that I think are really interesting, and clever. But Brown is just a big sledgehammer,
big armed idiot.
He's not like he throws like comebacks.
He's a KJ Jefferson.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
that's
who played in this system.
Exactly right. Auburn is KJ Jefferson, Arkansas now, which is worth like what, 5 wins, 6 wins.
With Auburn's defense, I would think maybe, yeah.
No, with Auburn's defense, maybe more. Maybe they could get to, yeah.
You're right.
I'm with Justin. I think Byron Brown gives them a chance to tread water, but he's got to get a Cam Newton to do what they're trying to do and it work at a national championship level.
Yeah.
It's got to be a Cam Newton, Tim Tebow kind of dude to make that work.
When Auburn peaks, it can be great, but I don't know how close they are to that. These are two on the screen that I think are going to be fascinating. Texas plays John Sumrall. I've finally figured out he's a defensive coach, and that makes sense because of the whole hoopla around Buster Faulkner going there. That's going to be a talented program still, and I think that they're going to be much better coached.
I still think it's going to take a year.
It will.
Because it didn't take him like a year or two in Tulane, and really he hit the portal really hard. And that hitting the portal hard, I think, was what helped him. He brought in a lot of those former 4- and 5-star receivers, some skill guys. He had a good quarterback. I'm actually really excited for Will Stein, and not just personally because like he, we know Coach Stein from when he coached at Texas. We know him from when he was an OC at Lake Travis. We know him when he was the former wide receiver coach, then promoted to OC at UTSA. Like Joe and I and Ian have actually watched the ascension of Will Stein from being that quarterback at Louisville behind Bridgewater to being where he's at now. Unbelievable guy. If you watch any of his stuff, and they're already recruiting well, guys. Like they're in recruitments they wouldn't normally be in. And I don't know if it's the new car smell, and I don't know if it's because Will Stein has got that kind of personality, but they're already pulling some guys. And I'm excited here. I'm excited for Coach Stein. I know some of the guys over there, Joe Price, wide receiver coach. I used to be with Jeff Traylor. Like he pulled some of those old East Texas guys, and I'm just excited for Will. I think he's in a great situation expectation wise, and I think they're going to give him a few years to actually put this thing together. If you give Will Stein a quarterback, it's going to be more fun in Lexington.
Who'd they get?
Kenny Minchie. Beat out.
I think Minchie's good, actually.
I think Stein can make him very capable.
I think so, too. I think that they went with Carr because of name and pedigree, and he showed just enough. But I thought Minchie was better in their spring game, and I thought Minchie was going to win the job.
I think Will is going to benefit from people getting excited about football and maybe a little apathetic about Mark Pope basketball. And
get that bourbon money into football.
Yeah. Like I think Kentucky's going to be looking for a new basketball coach probably this time next year.
Oh boy, that's going to be a dig for them. Oh,
another thing on Minchie.
If Stein catches some lightning in a bottle, they will fund football. I promise.
Another interesting thing on Minchie is that Nebraska thought they had him.
Yeah.
And Kentucky stole him last minute. And he was Nebraska really wanted him. Like other people must have seen what I saw. And
he committed to them.
Well, that tells me is he dodged a bullet, Ian.
He committed but didn't sign.
Right.
And then Kentucky grabbed him. I don't know how much more I want to talk about Lane, but I'll leave it up to y'all.
Golding is for sure. Golding should be on the previous list because I think Golding could actually get fired fast, and these other guys are all going to get there. They'll get like.
That was kind of what I was mentioned. That's kind of what I meant when I was saying a few things about him earlier. I think that I don't think that's going to end well.
These other guys are like 3-and-out candidates, right?
Everybody but Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even then, they're crazy enough.
Yeah, but Golding could be one and done.
The one thing in the state of Mississippi, and I remember this because it's like the Lane extension had to jump through this hoop. There's a law that public employees, which technically head football coaches are at state universities, they can only sign 4-year contracts. Lane, they were going to do something like sign them with some Ole Miss booster entity for a long extension. I don't know if Golden got that same courtesy.
I think Golden has to put up some actual wins for them to even consider that.
I think it was and I've said this before. Golding was on his way eventually to being a power 4.
It just got rushed. It just got rushed.
Yeah,
Because of the
Trinidad
circumstances.
Chambliss though. The rest, and I didn't really group this outside first year. And
Hey Joe, I think Kirby is safe in Athens, at least right now. I think he's pretty safe.
He's just listing the other remaining coaches, though.
Yeah, I know that.
The rest.
Thank you. There's Millhouse, and then you got Millhouse in Columbia.
Millhouse. Oh, that's good.
Oh no, yeah, the CPA. That's what he looks like. I don't know.
I think Luch calls him Dorkwitz. He's pretty good.
I don't know what to think of him. He's had good years. He benefited from the SEC East. That's gone now.
I'll say this. He gets more money than a lot of other schools do. So
Correct.
Let's just see. And this is what you get from that, because Missouri has spent some significant NIL in the last couple classes.
So I have I have a take on Heupel. You remember what you were talking about with at Alabama, the quarterback, and what's his name saying like, oh, no, we're going to play Keelan Russell. We're going with the young kid. I think Heupel could do the same thing with Faison. Yeah. And
can you do that in the first 2 years? What year is this? 4?
It's like 7, I think.
6 or 7, like
6.
It's one of those things where I think they really like him there, and I think they believe in him to the point where they're giving him time. They're giving him plenty of time. But man, Faison needs to be effective early if that's going to be the way they go.
That defense replaces a lot, and Z Williams brings this up. Jim Knowles is coming, and he brought in a good amount of Penn State guys with him to make that install a little bit easier. I don't know.
A good point, because he couldn't actually do everything. They fought him at Ohio State to do all the things he wanted to do. And at Penn State, he was only there for a year.
And everything collapsed.
And also with Faison too, give him credit. They have some really good wide receivers in Knoxville. They have 2 NFL level guys. And that, I think, will also help out.
I think they were galvanized by the Iamaliva thing. And it's like, all right, you know what? You're our guy. We're gonna support you.
I agree.
And has Heupel paid off that support yet?
Good call.
I think that he screwed up big time. And it may have been something that his boosters pushed on him. But they had an amazing thing going where they were just doing reclamation projects on veteran transfer quarterbacks. And be like, hey, talented 4th-year guy, come play in a super easy system, and we will unlock all of your latent talent that people hadn't seen yet, like Hendon Hooker and
Joe Milton.
Joe Milton to some extent. Joe Milton wasn't very good, but boy, he was better than he had been previously. Right. And then they're like, okay, forget all that now.
With a hand cannon. So.
Let's start loading up 5-star freshmen that have no idea what they're doing. And now they keep doing that, and it is shooting them in the foot.
Nico took over after he was a redshirt freshman. Faison Brandon, I think, is a redshirt freshman too. I get what you mean. Yeah.
They were better with Aguilar.
I'm surprised he's not more in the hot seat category. But I think Tennessee likes him. I think he's very likable, and I think he's done just enough to keep those guys, to keep the burners off of his butt.
Sark, all I'm going to say is, hey, you got Arch.
I like his chances in Austin. I think he's a fit.
I do think
you should have put Sark in a more at-risk category, in my opinion.
I think
Sark. Why are you doing that? We're an hour and 15 minutes into this thing, dude. Why are you steering this joker into the ditch?
I think Sark. You could say a lot of similar things about Sark that you say about Heupel. Like, are you going to find the money? Well, good luck finding it. But are you going to be like, hey, you had this and you didn't do this. When are you going to do it? That doesn't mean he's going to be at risk of getting fired, but it's going to cause some consternation.
Don't miss the playoffs 2 years in a row with Arch, Sark.
Correct. Yes, I think that's very succinct. And then Elko, that seat is not hot. He just got a big extension.
That dude, he's fine. Elko, they love him. Elko's going nowhere, guys.
What if we go in there and whoop them in Kyle?
Texas will go in there and whoop them, and they're I think they're reserved to that. They understand they're going to get drummed by Big Brother on a usual, regular, yearly basis. What else can we do?
I don't think people at A&M are crazy enough to pay 3 football head coaches at the same time.
The sentence should never start with, I don't think people at Texas A&M are crazy enough. Whatever you say next, it's not true.
Imagine, didn't Florida State have to do that? Like they were still paying Jimbo and that Gulf Coast offense guy.
Malzahn or
no. He went to Oregon and then FSU.
Oh yeah.
And then they had to start paying Norvell.
I know who you're talking about. It was supposed to be this big thing in Oregon's like
Taggart, Willie Taggart.
Taggart.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah. And then Clark Lee. Yeah. Clark Lee should not. I think if he was going to move, obviously this past off season was the one to do it. I think that program's going to step back a little bit this year because they're starting over essentially. He's a good coach.
I like Clark. I think Clark Lee has a good spot there. I think he knows they'll give him some money. They're going to give him some support. And you know what? The expectations aren't going to. They're never going to be too much at Vanderbilt. They're never going to be, at least not right now. I think he knew he's in a good spot. Why overthink it? Get you some nerds. And, you're going to pony up for the number 1 quarterback, Jared Curtis? I'll buy a house here.
That's his alma mater, too.
I think that this is ideal for Vandy and for Lee.
One, I think corollary is the right word. Jeff Brom just got an extension at Louisville. And I've said on here before, Jeff Brom is not somebody I want in Norman, Oklahoma.
No. You mean a smarter, more precise Lincoln Riley? No, thank you.
I'm afraid of Rhett Lashley. That's the one I don't want to.
Yeah.
The thing with Rhett is Rhett's got that SMU money. And Rhett has that Rhett has a really good thing in Dallas because a lot of the bigger prospects that leave, they come back, they come to SMU and they get them at a discount and they wind up putting them in the NFL. They've got a good young core of former high school coaches that are energetic. They got that recruiting buzz going to them. I don't think Lashley would leave. I think Lashley would think he has a better job at Southern Methodist. Listen,
right.
I promise you, they pay him well. They pay that program well. They just rebuilt a ton of stuff there. They've got more money coming in. Don't sleep on the Sherry Blackwood team, guys. Do not sleep on the Craig James crew. Like SMU, they got a little bit of taste of it in the early 80s. Those guys are coming back, cycling back around for another bite, another taste.
Who is the first coach fired this year in the SEC? I think I know who the first coach fired elsewhere is.
Jeff Levy.
I think they'll give him through the Egg Bowl. I think they'll give him a job.
Then that tells me I don't know if anybody gets fired during season. It's hard because there's so many new coaches, and the ones that are in are pretty entrenched.
Pete Golding.
I think what Joe just said, they'd give him the Egg Bowl through the Egg Bowl.
Well, what if they
Chambliss isn't going to let them fall on their face.
They're going to be competitive. Who's the most likely to get caught in a motorcycle accident? That's the guy that's going to get fired first. Who has to come to a press conference with a neck brace after suspicious circumstances?
You know he got another job as Bill Belichick's offensive coordinator, right?
All right. That's a good hire.
I think the first overall in college football. All right, I'm going to give you 2 options. Dave Aranda, Mike Norvell.
Yeah.
Dave Aranda.
I don't know if Baylor's in a. I can't. I don't know what. I haven't read the room at Baylor in a while.
They love Dave Aranda, but he doesn't win enough football games.
Right, like, and they keep giving him the next year and the next year. And
whereas Florida State hates Mike Vorfell. They just don't have the money to fire him.
I think Norvell is a good one. If Riley wets the bed early in the year, boy, because he's talking a lot of game now, so he can't afford. Belichick is a really good one. Although I bet North Carolina is way better this year.
It's all
with
relative.
his son and with Petrino.
I love your optimism on North Carolina being better. I don't know where you get it. But.
You know who can't be fired after the Penn State debacle is Matt Rule, and that's a little surprising. I don't know. It'll be
Matt Rule hits his ceiling every year. It's just his ceiling is 8 wins. And not against a ranked team.
I think the last thing to get out of here on Dabo is going to be one to watch. I don't think they'll fire him.
Ryan's right. It'll be a step down. He's not getting fired.
Yeah.
It'll be the Pine Box, Mac Brown, what was it? Parade or whatever.
Pine Box.
Yeah. And you know what? Dabo's earned that, guys. He has. We may think he's corny and goofy in a lot of things he does. And I think the Lord probably looks down sometimes and agrees. But my goodness, Sweeney deserves to go out on his own terms.
Make sure you go to InsideTexas.com. We're talking about all this. Join for just $1 with that first link in our description, or use that QR code at the top left of the screen. Talking football, basketball, baseball, recruiting, and everything. Later on this channel, we got the deep dive coming out. That'll be Paul and Ian. Got a bunch of stuff this week. And, of course, NFL Draft tonight. Should be a lot of fun. So, Justin, Ian, thank y'all so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.